What's up, YouTube? Happy Wednesday. I wanted to share some guys with you. I did 2 videos about narcissists and how they suck. I shared with you, I was with Mr. Wrong, aka the ex-narc, for 3.5 years. And out of the 3.5 years, I would say we had a pretty decent 6 months. After 6 months, the love bombing stage was over and hell began. Now, when I say I only had 6 months, that was good months out of the 3.5 years. During the stage after the love bombing, when, he started to devalue me, you're going to have some good days. Okay? Not many. You're going to have periods where you might have a good week, a good 2 weeks. And then there's going to be times where it just is back to back disrespect. Just cold treatment. They like to give you the silent treatment. It's just a very toxic situation to be in, and my heart truly does. Excuse me, my nose is itching. Somebody's probably watching one of my junior videos talking about me. It's just a horrible situation to be in, and my heart goes to anybody who is still in that situation and that feels stuck and feels trapped in that situation. I do not wish that on anybody. But coming out of my situation, I knew it was really over. I could never pinpoint. I shared with you guys that I'd never felt safe, and I could never pinpoint what it was. I could not confirm the cheating because he had an alcohol and some sort of drug addiction. I wasn't sure if it was pills or if it was something stronger. When I say something stronger, I suspected crack. I never dealt with anybody who had an addiction, okay? I have had family members that have had a drug addiction, but me personally, I never dealt with anybody who had a drug addiction. So I think that's why I was a lot more patient. And because when he used to go on his disappearing acts and he would come back, he would be very, very, sometimes he'd be disheveled. Sometimes I could smell the alcohol coming out of his pores. So in my mind, that's where I thought he was. Maybe I thought he was in a crack house, or maybe I thought he just was on a drinking binge and was too drunk to get home. Regardless of whatever it was, I should not have tolerated that behavior. But in January, I knew it was over. Okay, I had caught him keeping contact with one of his exes, and that's something that he did throughout our relationship. They like to keep in touch. He has reached out to me quite a few times since we've broken up. That's just what they do. But knowing who he is and what he is, he has been shut down. And pretty much blocked. That's why I'm kind of leery of taking new friend requests, because he has tried to befriend me, pretending to be somebody else. That's just a part of the mind fuckery that comes with them. They like to play games. They like to hide behind a computer screen. Someone mentioned in my comments that she wasn't surprised that I met him online on POF. Narcs love online dating sites. They love, because they can, they have very, very low self-esteem. They have this false self, that a person that they pretend to be. They live a lot in the fantasy world. So hiding behind a computer screen, they could tell you anything, and what would you know? I didn't know mine was currently living in a shelter at the time. He told me he had a place in Brooklyn. He told me he had one kid. He had two. I mean, so they could be behind a computer screen. They could be anybody who they want to be. And they love that online. They just love the mind fuckery and the games. So when I knew it was over, I made a list because I knew I was getting out of it. I knew I knew it was over. We had no future. And he was still living with me. And I made a list. And I made a list of 10 things that I wanted in my next relationship. And he did not meet one of them. Like I told you guys in another video, make a list. Make a list of what you want. You can make a list of goals. If it's about building self-esteem, make a list of positive things about yourself. You know what I mean? And then make a list of things that you don't like about yourself and see how you can improve. Lists help me. It just helps for you to keep track, especially if you feel like you're all over the place. It just helps you to keep track and sometimes be able to hold yourself accountable. So I started this journal in April. In mid-April is when he was served with the eviction papers, and I knew it was only a matter of time. Regardless, I was ready to go the full distance. If he did not leave on his own, I was, even though it was going to cost me monetarily, I was ready for him to get out of my life. And I bought this journal. And I wrote in it, and I misplaced it, and I was looking for something else, and I found it. So I want to share with you guys, okay? Let's just call this the Narc Diaries, okay? And I'm just going to read, okay? And if you are going through this, just, you can get out of it, and my heart is with you. I'm currently sitting in a courtroom in Lindenhurst to get an eviction order to get Lamar out of my house. Ooh, I said his name. He moved in December 31st, and this relationship has been one hell of a roller coaster ride. I don't even know where to begin. In short, I gave my heart to a man that never intended to give me his. A man who was not honest from day one. So many lies, cheating, using and abusing. And let us not forget the manipulation. I had so many hopes. I used to fantasize about marrying him and how our wedding day and reception would be. We talked about marriage, but that was just future faking. In other words, the Negro had no intentions of marrying me, just talk. It always bothered me that when he spoke about his future, I was not in it. He never said when we buy a house. This relationship should have been over so long ago. And actually, it finally ended in August. I put him out after a 2-day disappearance. But I got weak and he came back. Weekend disappearances were a frequent thing with no contact. I never knew what to expect with him. He was so unpredictable. I initially thought he was an alcoholic and drug addict, but that was just one of his many issues. I did not know he was a narc. And that was on April 25th that I put that entry. And I didn't write again until May 5th. And he was gone. Today marks 1 week since the narc left. He never showed up in court, and I was able to get the eviction warrant, which thankfully I won't ever have to use. I purchased a one-way ticket to Savannah, Georgia, and on 5/1, at around 3:30 p.m., he walked out of my house and life. I didn't expect it to hit me hard, but when I walked into my bedroom and seen the keys on the dresser, it felt like my heart was ripped out of my chest. I knew and know it needed to end, but it still hurt and hurts at times. There were no goodbyes. It was just over. All of my hopes, all of my dreams, and efforts that I put into this relationship down the drain, and I'm left with no answers to why. Regardless of my responsibility and part in this madness, what gives him the right to use and take advantage of and lie to me? My girlfriend said it's your fault, and I could see where she's coming from, but it still doesn't make it right. Who the hell is he that he can go from woman to woman, hurting them over and over again? It's not fair. I read old messages from his youngest son's mother. He put her through hell as well. And of course, according to him, she's crazy. As well as his oldest son's mother. I guess I'm on the crazy list now. Because he is perfect, and anything that he did or does is justified. It just doesn't seem fair that he can run to GA, Georgia, and start new like I didn't exist. This I am, I had to give myself the pep talk. I had to give myself the pep talk. I have to accept that there was no other alternative, and it had to end. I was not happy, and if there were good days, they didn't last. Things were good as long as they went his way, and his way was not good for me. I don't know why I'm so upset about the cheating. I should have had a problem with him not working, not meeting my needs, emotional and sexual, his drinking and drug use, etc., etc. I had to be honest with myself and ask myself this one question. Would you still be with him if he didn't cheat? And the answer is yes. There is something wrong with that. Why would I stay with someone who did not work and allow me to do everything? Why would I want to stay with an alcoholic or drug addict? Why would I want a man who did not take care of his kids? A man who let me do all the planning, did not even care whether or not I enjoyed sex. Once he came, it was done. So this is part 1 of the Narc Diaries. And that was, in a nutshell, what I went through with this man. Initially, he worked. I told you when he got paid, he gave me half his check. But then he lost his job and didn't look for another one for about a year and a half. And the only reason why he got one is because I told him, you have to get a job. He didn't take care of his kids. It was the disappearances. In the beginning, sex was amazing. And then it got to a point where it was just like you're a piece of meat. It was no emotion. It was no feeling. The relationship was very one-sided. And I had to deal with myself because I did not even understand this. And this is where self-love and settling comes into play. And I had to identify this. If you listen to what I said and what I wrote, that I would have probably still been with him if it wasn't for the cheating. And that's settling. Accepting a partner that does not work and lets you're the primary. I'm not talking about, God forbid, if your significant other was in an accident or they became sick. I'm not talking about that and you have to hold down the fort. I'm talking about someone quitting their job or getting fired and not looking for work and letting you work double shifts, 7 days a week in order to, fund the lifestyle. Why would you be with someone, Erica, who you made sure he was good sexually, but your needs just weren't important? So I had to ask myself that tough question because I dealt with that in my first marriage. So remember when I told you guys, if you don't learn from past lessons, just like when you're going to school, if you don't pass them tests, you're going to get left back and have to repeat that grade. And even though my ex-husband was not a narcissist, I still was dealing with some of the same issues. Everything was all about the both of them, selfish. I was being put last. My needs were not being put first. And that was, forget bringing in cheating. All those things that I mentioned, the not working, the selfishness, that's enough. That's enough right there. And why, in my marriage, I was married for 19 years. He wasn't financially adequate for 19 years. He wasn't sexually adequate for 19 years. There were a lot of things I put up with my marriage, but it wasn't until I could confirm that he cheated on me was I ready to leave my marriage. And that's really sad because that whole time I was being put last. My needs were on the back burner. I was being taken advantage of. And I put up with that. And I had to ask my mother, like, what is wrong with me that cheating seems to be the nail in the coffin for me? And maybe I'm being too hard on myself, but maybe I feel like, hey, I'm not going to be doing all of this and then you're doing that. Even with the narc, I suspected the whole relationship and I might have seen messages, but he was, he knew how to finesse me. Okay, he knew how to, that was just a message or she messaged me or, but I never had hardcore proof. But that email I seen on New Year's Eve, that was hardcore proof. First of all, we see what we want to see. I had the proof, but I just made excuses. Okay, let me just keep it real. I chalked it up as his drinking or his drug. I seen the writing on the wall, but I made excuses. With my husband, it was kind of hard. I don't think he was habitual. I think he stepped out from time to time, but it was nothing like the narc. I just can't explain. Anybody who's been with a player, and then anybody who's been with a narc, it's just the mind fuckery, the games. I mean, the narcs have so much with them. I'm telling y'all, the silent treatment, the mental games they play with you, the triangulation. I mean, that's just, they have psych issues. It's not just a normal, a man, you get bored in a relationship and, you step out. No, it's just totally different. But I had to really ask myself, why all those other things are not okay. In order to have a relationship, and that's when I made the list, it wasn't just not a cheater. It was, financially stable, family values, because the narc didn't have any family values. He didn't take care of his kids. He didn't have a relationship with his family. So I wanted someone with the same family values that I had. It was a list of 10 things, and I wish I could find that list of what I wrote. But I knew when I met my husband, he met everything on the list, and not settling. It has to be must-haves that go on the list, because no one's going to be perfect. You're going to have to compromise, but it was things that I had to have. And those things you should not deviate from, because if you do, you're settling. When we make excuses for people, we want to say, oh, well, we're compromising. But no, the truth is you're settling. If it's core things that you need and you're not getting them, and you're making excuses and you're settling. But I had to be real with myself. And that's when I knew that I had some issues, because for you to allow yourself to be treated like that, or taken advantage of like that, and put last like that, I knew I had issues. As much as I could put this face on and clothes, and people think that, your self-esteem is up here, because like I said, you have to fake it. But eventually, along with the faking it, you have to do the work to really get there, so you don't have to fake it anymore. And I definitely had to accept that I had issues. You know what I mean? And as much as he was wrong for what he did, I wasn't being good to myself by allowing it. And the idea is not to beat yourself up. I'm just a very realistic person. I'm harder on myself than anybody could ever be. So that's it, guys. This is the first edition of the Narc Diaries. And again, I hope it's helpful, because watching YouTube videos is what helped me and gave me the courage. And also to help me recognize, because a lot of people are dealing with some stuff and they don't know that they're dealing with someone who has a personality disorder. Some things are just not normal. They're almost like demonic. I just didn't have peace. I never could rest. I never felt comfortable. That was my gut telling me. That was my gut telling me. I'm telling you, never had peace. I don't care how sweet they could be. Let me tell you something. He was so slick. We would be in the bed together, and he's on, again, they like to play online. He used to play spades online and stuff like that, and he met somebody who was playing spades, and then they began to exchange messages, and they started following each other on IG and DMs, and his excuse was, oh, you're just so insecure. She's married. She lives in Ohio. Oh, the drama and the games. They will be cheating on you right there. They'll be online texting somebody, and you're thinking, I'm thinking he's writing an email, because at one point he worked from home. You're thinking that he's doing research for something, and they'll be having a whole relationship. So I just want to help people, because somebody shared their story and it helped me. Because you really have to be careful nowadays, especially with people sleeping around, because there's diseases. They'll bring you home something. You know what I mean? These people have no regard for their lives. Narcs are very reckless, because they think they're untouchable. Nothing can touch them. You know what I mean? They live in this false sense of self. So it really is for your protection. And not only that, you just don't deserve it. You deserve to have peace. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to be happy. And you deserve someone who is going to appreciate you like you do them. Just like you want to be a good woman, or you want to be a good man, because narcs come in female forms too. So this is not a dig to the men. This is not a man bashing video. There's some trifling females out there too, and there are female narcissists. And again, my girlfriend asked me today, why are you still watching those videos? Because I told her, I sent her one of my YouTube videos on the Get Ready With Me, and I told her I did some videos about narcissists, and she wanted to know why. Why are you still on that? First of all, let me tell you something. You come out of a relationship with a narcissist, you never forget that, number one. And you're always going to be on guard. Okay? And honestly, it was a life-changing experience. So if anybody has not been with one, they cannot relate. They think you're crazy and all this other stuff like that. But I'm going to keep myself educated, and I'm going to keep doing my research. And not only that, I'm going to share. It took me a long time. I wanted to share. I want to share my story because, like I said, someone else took the time and had the courage to share theirs, and that's what helped me. Because relying on friends and family, you know, I probably would still be there. I'm being honest with you. Because they didn't even know what the hell I was dealing with. Like I said, most of them loved the stories. They couldn't wait to hear the weekend war story of what I've been through. So, I just want to help. And if you are knock free, or if you're out of your relationship, no contact, because that's how he got me after I put him out in August. I had a moment of weakness. The best thing is to stay no contact. And what I did to keep me strong is I would read old emails. I would read old text message where he was just disrespectful, and, you know, emails of me sending him, you know, I don't know where you are. Why would you do this? Just horrible emails. And I think I still have them, and they're so sad. I may share them with you, but it's just a really... I was in a very, very low place, and it just makes me sad reading them. You know what I mean? Because nobody, you know what I mean? If you're unhappy with somebody, if you're in a relationship and you're unhappy, just leave them alone. It's not nice to use people and abuse people and play games with people. It's not. And I seen a video where somebody wanted to know, it was somebody who does narc videos, do they ever get their karma back? It just seems, and honestly, I think they said yes, they will get it back, but these people have no emotion. They really don't care. So how do you hurt somebody who has no heart? They're like heartless. I don't know how you could get them. How do you get somebody like that? They have a trail of victims. If you think you're the first one, you're not, and you're not going to be the last, and that's the sad part. And then somebody asked in one of the videos, should you warn the new supply? To be honest with you, I wouldn't waste my time. They're not going to believe you, because when I first got with mine, I seen some messages, and he had already told me that she was crazy. He said she was a stalker. She was a ward of the state, meaning she was like getting a state check, which are they're such liars. So when I read her messages, to be honest with you, I felt like, you know, just didn't work out between them, me and her. You know, that happened to her. That's not me. You know, they didn't work out. You know what I mean? You just don't bother with the new supply. They will find out soon enough, because the narcs can't keep the mask on for long. Don't worry about the new supply. Keep your eye off the new supply. Just be happy you're free and go on about your business. Seriously. Be happy you're free and go on about your business. Thank you for watching the Narc Diaries, the first one. I will share more with you guys, and I will hopefully talk to you later.